Time to time, we've seen you a little bit higher than that. In fact, I think you were 39 earlier, so that is tropical storm force wind gusts. Now, this is a forecast of the wind field, where we're expecting to see the tropical storm force winds in orange and the hurricane force winds in the red color. And look at how far away from the center of the storm that orange spreads. So even tomorrow, we're going to get some of those gusts into parts of Georgia as well as into South Carolina. And this is the cone. And this really makes an excellent point to help you understand that just because you're not in the cone does not mean you have no risks. It means you do still have some risks depending where you are, because those happen far outside of the cone. So wind will be a deal. We'll likely get some power outages as a result of those strong damaging winds over 70 miles per hour, perhaps as much as 80 plus from time to time. When will the winds become strong enough that we have to start halting travel and other impacts? Well, that could happen at the soonest tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock here near West Palm and down towards Boca, maybe just near Fort Lauderdale, but it will be more likely to happen tomorrow afternoon. I always think it's a good idea in a situation like this tonight to, when you go to bed, be where you want to be to ride out the storm. Have all your preparations certainly completed by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Hurricane warnings are in effect. Conditions will deteriorate throughout the day tomorrow. Tropical storm warnings well inland. Almost every corner of the state of Florida has some type of alert, and you can see those stretch on up into South Carolina right now as well. There you can see the timing of those winds that will increase, and with the movement and some slowing down after this works inland while we wait for that northerly pull, means those impacts are going to be prolonged a good 12 hours in some of these locations with strong winds that may cause damage. So this goes all through the day on Wednesday, all through the day on Thursday for a lot of those folks, Mike.
We are getting some new video of windy Daytona Beach. Look at the conditions captured this afternoon before the sun was setting. Here along Atlanta, the Atlantic coast, we're going to have some real issues with storm surge, we believe. The surface is already rough, and it gets way rougher from this point going forward. You can't surf on that. You don't have regular sets, and I don't see any kite surfers today. We had kite surfers yesterday. I think conditions were really nice for that, but not any longer. Unfortunately, the water's turning very, very dangerous. Storm surge will definitely be an issue for us here in Daytona Beach. You'll be one of those spots. Storm surge warnings in effect here from North Palm all the way up to Brunswick here. Then the areas in the light purple on your map here, those are areas where we have storm surge watches from near Brunswick, north of Brunswick, through Savannah, the islands there in Georgia, up through the low country of South Carolina, and also here in the Gulf Coast, including north of Tampa, around Hudson, Cedar Key, back towards St. Mark's as well. Here's a look at the onshore flow. This is generally what we've been experiencing throughout the week so far, last couple of days, and that only gets stronger and a more perpendicular flow into the coastline as Nicole gets closer and closer. Nicole is going to come in, we believe, late tomorrow and really push a lot of water here at the center and then north of the center. So Melbourne and Vero Beach and Daytona Beach and Jacksonville and Brunswick, all very vulnerable to some storm surge here. As we go into Thursday evening, we're going to get more of a flow now, we think, into coastal Georgia. So Tybee Island, St. Simon's Island, heads up for you. Up toward the Savannah areas, water can come up the river here, and then onshore flow around Hilton Head and Charleston as well. As we go into Thursday night now, you can see an onshore flow if the low were to come out of the Gulf of Mexico. They could push water in towards Cedar Key. Here's a look at the storm surge flooding and inundation map. Areas highlighted in yellow, 3 to 6 feet of storm surge. Areas highlighted in blue here around Daytona, 1 to 3 feet. And you're thinking, well, why the difference here? Why are some places higher than others? It all depends on the topography. It also depends on some man-made things as well. I wanted to show you an example here, and you can drive on portions of the beach here in Daytona. This is a look at the Hawaiian Inn Beach Resort. Notice what they have here, and a lot of the resorts do. Big seawall that surrounds it, right? This is about a 6-foot wall, so they'd be a little bit more protected. This is Minerva Road here, but water can intrude here and get right toward A1A, and then you've got water on A1A. But then you look at other places, again, big resorts that often have seawalls, then you have vulnerable neighborhoods like this one where they just have small dunes that protect them, and that is it. So these are locations where the bigger surge is likely to come in and eventually get toward A1A right here and maybe beyond A1A. So vulnerable spots like this, heads up, and likely you'll want to evacuate in situations like Nicole coming ashore as a Category 1 hurricane, Jackie.
All right, we want to show you a little bit of a moment of the calm before the storm. I know we're still seeing some wave action here, but it really was a beautiful day across parts of Florida. Our storm tracker Charles Peak capturing this drone video and also catching some of the erosion, though, that we've been seeing in Stewart Beach ahead of Nicole. We've got multiple alerts that are in effect for the area, including storm surge warnings, hurricane warnings in effect there too. So this is a long ways from the lead up to our tropical storm, which will likely be a hurricane perhaps by tomorrow morning, bringing in that wave action, already causing some beach erosion that will continue to deteriorate through the night tonight and into tomorrow. Now, another impact is going to be the risk of flooding from really heavy rainfall. We've got plenty of moisture to work with here. We'll get these bands of storms that set up and bring persistent rain that will likely repeat itself in some of the same areas to bring heavy downpours that could be between 2 and 4 inches, perhaps a few spots getting up into the 6-inch range. So flooding will be possible tomorrow already through Thursday morning in the green area. So that's almost everybody across the Florida Peninsula, but most likely closer towards the Atlantic coast. Now, landfalling tropical systems also are known for producing tropical tornadoes, and that risk is going to be there tomorrow, especially into the evening hours. So if you are in this red zone from Daytona through Orlando, Vero, Melbourne, Space Coast there, down towards West Palm, near Boca, you have the risk of some tornadoes. So make sure you have a way to get alerted even after you go to bed tomorrow night, because that is going to be a risk in the nighttime hours too. Timing this out, we've already had some spotty feeds of moisture working their way in, mostly showers, not even much in terms of convection, but look at how much that comes in intensity and becomes much more widespread across the area. Landfall likely overnight, midnight-ish, give or take a little bit either side tomorrow night into your Thursday morning. Then Thursday day, as this works its way inland, we'll watch that tornado risk spread further north and up towards the east. So it's that right front quadrant where those bands could be moving in, bringing rotating storms. A lot of times we'll get little water spouts offshore, which then of course become tornadoes once they make their way inland. So that risk on Thursday from Wilmington down towards Savannah, Jacksonville, Orlando again, and down towards Melbourne. In addition to that, those bands could bring the flooding rain. So we do have a risk here as well. The darker green area where it would be a little bit more likely, but still keeping a very close eye Friday, possibly even into Friday night, I think, for parts of the Appalachians, Mike. We get a little terrain in there, and that can really enhance some of the rainfall totals. But Orlando got hit hard by Ian when it comes to flooding. What kind of impacts are they expecting this time around?
We think this go around we're likely to have more rain, we're likely to have more wind that comes along with Nicole. We may not necessarily meet the thresholds that we had with Ian, but sometimes it can be too much of a good thing, right? There's Orlando for you right now, and you can see that we have plenty of wet roads at this point. We're going to get more rain with this system. We're going to end up getting a lot more wind with the system, that's for sure. Wouldn't be surprised to see winds gusting here, maybe 60+ miles per hour. Here is a look at the tropical storm watches that are warnings that are expected, excuse me. That does include Orlando, down toward Kissimmee, up toward the villages here. In all these places, anticipate winds that could be gusting 50, 60, or maybe even 70 miles an hour. It'll depend on how close Nicole actually gets the center of circulation to Orlando. It's been at times breezy for us today. That only gets worse from this point going forward. So we would hope that tonight you've got all your preparations completed, because tropical storm force winds are anticipated sometime tomorrow morning, and then again getting just progressively worse from there. Here are the winds tonight. At times could be gusting around 30, 35 miles per hour, going upwards. So by tomorrow, 5 o'clock, look at the winds now. 40, 50 miles an hour in Kissimmee, Orlando, 35 to 40. Winds out toward the coast will be significantly higher. Thursday now in the morning, still quite breezy for us. Look at this, Orlando, 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. We could anticipate some spotty power outages as a result. By the time Thursday evening rolls around, conditions are starting to pare back just a little bit now, and you can see storm surge potential will be there in places where you can see 3 to 5 inches of storm surge. Orlando will be protected, but not in St. Augustine or Palm Crest or down toward Melbourne.
Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl is back, which means the never-ending pasta you crave is back. Starting it with our never-ending first course, well, that's always been here. Never-ending pasta bowl, starting at $13.99 for a limited time.
Don't you wish you could wave a magic wand and have whiter teeth? Well, you can, but it's not magic. It's power swabs. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and boom, whiter teeth and a better smile. And since you're not dealing with messy trays or awkward strips, you're less vulnerable to the harsh sensitivity they sometimes create.
I've used strips. They seem to really hurt my teeth. The power swabs, it just seemed very gentle.
It's so simple and easy. You just open it, you apply it to your teeth, you forget it's there. And I noticed that they're white and bright again like they were before.
I noticed actually a difference the first time that I used power swabs. You put on the first coat and then the activator goes on and immediately you start seeing it working.
It only takes 5-minute applications to get a brighter, whiter smile with power swabs. You just snap, swab, and smile. Power swabs have been clinically studied to whiten natural teeth and remove stains from caps, crowns, and veneers. It's so powerful, it removes stains from coffee, tea, red wine, and even smoking.
I love my coffee in the morning.
I will never stop drinking coffee. I will not be the person drinking hot coffee with a straw.
As much coffee as I drink, I can use my power swabs and eliminate the staining.
When I used the power swabs, I applied it directly to my front tooth where the coffee stain was.
I like being able to individually get the teeth, and most importantly, it got kind of in between the grooves.
You can put it directly on the stain that you see on your teeth, and it's so precise.
But as powerful as it is, it's also gentle and causes 0 to minimal sensitivity.
This didn't sting, it didn't burn, it didn't have an aftertaste. It was just a swab, and I just got to rub it around my teeth, and that was it.
Take it from me as someone who has gone the dental route, but has also gone on the shelf route, and I've not really seen anything work as effective and as easy as power swabs.
Whiten your teeth this Thanksgiving by ordering power swabs and receive 40% off the regular price. Shipping is free, plus you receive a free quick stick pen to use on the go after meals or a cup of coffee. Visit powerswabs.com or call the number on your screen.
Our craftsmen begin each day perfectly seasoning our Hillshire Farm smoked sausage so that you can end each day crafting a perfectly delicious dinner. Hillshire Farm, made right on the farm.
I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, a board-certified OBGYN and the founder of Lumi, the world's first whole-body deodorant that you can use anywhere you have odor but wish you didn't. It's outrageously effective. Check us out and give Lumi a try today.
Age is just a number, and mine's unlisted.
Try Boost High Protein with 20 grams of protein for muscle health versus 16 grams in Ensure High Protein. Boost High Protein also has key nutrients for immune support. Boost High Protein.
I'm Mike Corey. The cocktail of excitement and terror.
Let's go on an uncharted adventure.
If you're serious about keeping your blood sugar healthy, you need to try doctor-developed Gluco Gold. This all-in-one formula contains the full research dose of berberine, a powerful botanical that helps keep your blood sugar in the normal range, plus a unique form of chromium, banaba leaf, and a potent cinnamon extract.
It's made a great difference in my life.
Just one with each meal gives you the support you need around the clock.
It really does work. It keeps my sugar levels right where I want it.
Take control starting now. Text BATON to 42424 to request your first bottle of Gluco Gold, and we'll include a second bottle absolutely free. That's 2 full bottles for the price of 1 and free shipping. Plus, you'll receive a bottle of vitamin D3 absolutely free. But hurry, this free bottle offer isn't available anywhere else and won't last long. Get the better blood sugar support you need with Gluco Gold. Text BATON to 42424.
power of the Weather Channel, now available to everyone.
This is epic!
Trusted live coverage when it matters most is now yours to stream with the Weather Channel TV app, real-time radar, and maps that let you track all the action.
Let's get into the detail.
Personalization, customization, hundreds of hours of your favorite shows, and so much more. There's never been a better way for everyone to watch the Weather Channel. Available now on these platforms. Go to streamtwc.com to start your free 7-day trial.
You're watching the Weather Channel. We're keeping a very close eye on Florida. Tropical storm Nicole is on a collision course with the Sunshine State. We have hurricane warnings in effect along the East Coast. We have tropical storm warnings. Those are highlighted in red on your screen here. In areas in yellow, we have tropical storm watches. A lot of impact, we believe, across Florida. And then from there, we'll have big impact, we believe, across the southeast, eventually into the northeast as well. A lot to cover for you here. Thanks for being with us on Storm Center. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis. We'll check in with Jackie Jarris in just a second here. But there's the very latest satellite presentation of Nicole. Much better formed today than it was yesterday. It's intensified. Winds are at 65 miles per hour. The pressure's been dropping throughout the evening. In fact, in the last advisory, even though the wind speeds didn't change, the pressure dropped by 6 millibars in 3 hours. So we may at some point this evening see the winds tick up even a little bit more potentially because of the pressure dropping and the low intensifying. West-southwest movement at 10 miles per hour. It's not been at any point during its life a particularly fast-moving storm, but one thing you'll notice is a lot more thunderstorm activity, especially on the north side. There's a little bit of dry air on the south side, so all the action is near the center and then on the north side as well. And you can actually see a little bit of clearing there. It seems like it's almost trying to form an eye at this point, and showers have already rolled into Florida this evening. As far as those warnings and watches go, again, hurricane warnings highlighted in purple on the map here. That's going to include the east coast of Florida, but tropical storm watches go over to the Gulf Coast as well. Some winds are going to be an issue for us here. We think surge could potentially be an issue up through the bend. As far as the winds go, right now, gusts to 32 in Vero Beach, 20 miles per hour. The sustained winds 15 in Orlando. Onshore flow all week long. We'll continue with that flow for the remainder of the storm. Through the day tomorrow, winds intensify. They become more perpendicular to the coastline as the storm itself rolls its way over the Bahamas. There's about 250 miles from the Bahamas now. Then around midnight, making landfall along the east coast here. A place like Vero Beach could be ground zero. Look at the winds here. By Thursday morning, 50, 60 miles an hour. Orlando, very gusty. Same for you in Tampa and Cedar Key. Taking that turn to the north now. Could stay over the peninsula, could potentially be over the Gulf here, and may produce some storm surge here around Cedar Key or Hudson back towards St. Mark's here. Storm surge warnings along the east coast from North Palm up toward Brunswick, and watches that extend northbound from there. How much water rise will we see? 3 to 5 feet in some spots here. That could include especially the north side of the storm, okay? So that's where you're going to have the onshore flow. South side of the storm, you'll have offshore flow, and the water will be going out. Also watching for this area north of Tampa for some surge potentially, and then surge up through, say, the islands in Georgia, susceptible here, say St. Simons or Jekyll Island, and then up toward maybe Hilton Head or the low country here in Charleston. We could get some rainfall flooding there as well as storm surge flooding. You can see the quick acceleration as it's picked up by a big snowstorm in the middle of the country and accelerated off into New England. Should be gone by the time Saturday evening rolls around, but here's how it plays out. You can see where the center of circulation is coming over the Bahamas and then the east coast of Florida. This is 1 o'clock in the morning, so Wednesday night into Thursday, and very heavy rain here, turning northbound from there, quickly being picked up near Tallahassee, and then from there pulling north and east. Friday through Saturday, this thing really speeds along and then shoots its way up into the Canadian Maritimes here. By Saturday evening, things calm down for us. One interesting thing of note here, Jackie, on the backside of the system, so cold, we'll get some lake effect snow.
I'm not ready to talk about the cold.
Amazing, right?
But we will talk about it before the end of the show, by the way, for those of you across parts of the West and the Midwest. Right now, though, it's a lot warmer, and where I am virtually, this is in Palm Beach, where it's windy. We've had rain today. The rain's been really light for the most part. We've been dealing with that off and on the last couple of hours. But as we go into tomorrow, conditions are going to be ramping up. The winds are going to start to increase. The rain's going to come down heavy. We do have a threat of tropical tornadoes here, and you're under a hurricane warning as well as a storm surge warning. So a lot going on with these conditions, and you will need to be hunkering down through the day tomorrow, but especially tomorrow night into your Thursday morning. That's when the worst of the conditions, I think, will be arriving. But it's a rather long duration event because our wind field is so huge on this storm. We've got hurricane warnings in effect, I mentioned, for Palm Beach, but this stretches from just south of Boca all the way up to the Space Coast. We've got tropical storm warnings inland from here, where we can expect to see the heavy rain and winds strong enough that it will likely produce some power outages. So you need to be prepared for that. Our gusts have been in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range for the most part the last hour or two, but that's going to start to pick up tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow morning is the earliest reasonable time that tropical storm force winds could arrive, but there you can see more likely as we head into the afternoon. Overnight, we'll see the hurricane force wind gusts, and that will continue into midday Thursday.
Jimmy's John's new all-American beefy crunch is full of lies. Thousand Island dressing.
From Canada.
Crispy onion strings.
It could be from anywhere.
American cheese.
From America.
Wait. Come on, Stevie, get it together!
At Jimmy John's for a limited time.
This holiday season, save big on all the gifts you need for the gifts that keep on giving. Because while they have no idea what's going on here, a little something of their own will get them in the spirit. They don't know why you'd ever leave the house like this, but they'll happily hold down the fort while you're gone.
Smile.
And let's be honest, they'll never understand this whole situation. But they do get this. Thank goodness. Great prices, happy pets, Chewy.
Our roof got damaged during Hurricane Ida last August. We answered some questions on Angie. Next thing we knew, we were put in contact with our Angie Pro. And then that weekend, they came out and we had a brand new roof.
Get started at Angie.com today.
Jerry is the fastest way to compare and buy car insurance. Find out how much you could save for free at getjerry.com.
Oh, hey, it's a Donovan's. You know, legend has it, the Donovans had a barbecue that fed half a town.
You know what I heard? They drove cross country just to walk their dog.
Apparently, they climbed a mountain to save some wild horses. That's what they say.
That's what they say.
Toyota, let's go places.
The secret of every great chef is their knives and how well they sharpen them. Imagine a knife taking this much abuse and didn't need sharpening. Imagine no more. Introducing the incredible NutriBlade knives from Granite Stone. Coated with Granite Stone non-stick and made of stainless steel. One of the hardest substances on Earth for ultimate cutting-edge durability. Now everyone can chop, slice, and dice just like a pro.
Very comfortable. Very sharp. I thought you had to be a professional chef to cut like this.
Yeah. Woo! This is really an incredible knife.
The Easy Grip rubberized handles deliver incredible control and accuracy. To chop salads in seconds, cut frozen solid meat with ease, and get razor-thin slices every time. The non-stick surface means food slides right off, and they're dishwasher safe. Plus, they'll stay razor sharp, guaranteed. Why pay hundreds? Today, you'll get this complete set of 6 NutriBlades for only $29.95. You'll get the powerful Santoku knife to chop large fruit and dice onions. The slicer for razor-thin veggies and deli meat. The serrated bread knife for slicing fresh, warm bread with ease. The ultralight chef knife with reduced surface area for less friction. This versatile utility blade is great in the kitchen and around your home. And the precision paring knife for peeling and garnishing. $29.95 is an amazing value, but order right now and we'll even ship them to you for free. So get your own NutriBlade knives from Granite Stone, the last knives you'll ever buy.
To order, call 1-800-609-6187 or go online to buynutriblade.com. That's 1-800-609-6187 or go to buynutriblade.com. Order now.
This holiday, make no mistake, everything here is
Philadelphia cheesecake.
Cheesecake is everything.
Bake your own.
Closely watching Tropical Storm Nicole, likely to become a hurricane and make landfall in the east coast of Florida tomorrow. That is a look at time lapse of the day in Daytona Beach, where the surf was pretty rough today. We're anticipating a lot of beach erosion here along the east coast of Florida. A lot of places have already had a lot of beach taken away from this system, and also previously from Ian as well. But Jackie has a closer look at this storm, Jackie, which has gotten a lot more impressive today compared to yesterday.
Yeah, some really significant changes in terms of its organization and its structure. So this is now a tropical storm, not that subtropical or hybrid system that we were talking about, meaning it has warm core all the way throughout. It's also becoming more organized. And so we've seen the pressure drop today. We've seen the wind speeds increase today, 65 miles per hour. And I think those will likely go stronger with time. The pressure has been lower from the last two advisories. Sometimes there's a little lag time from when the pressure drops and the wind speed begins to increase, but the winds, not only are they strong here as a strong tropical storm, but they're really far-reaching. They stretch out almost 400 miles from the center of the storm, so that's huge. And if you look at this, yeah, the clouds that you're seeing in Florida, the high-level clouds that you're seeing here into parts of the Carolinas, that's already from Nicole. So watch for conditions to deteriorate starting tomorrow, most likely in the afternoon, but it could happen as early as the morning, which is why all those preparations really had to get done today. The evacuation orders are going into effect tomorrow morning, and some of those counties that we had mentioned earlier, including you and Flagler, and you want to get on the road as soon as you can, right? If you can evacuate yet tonight, that might be a better thing to do, is to get out and get to a safe place. And all you have to do is go a little farther inland. Now, we've got many alerts that are in effect. These have changed since earlier today. Tropical storm watches stretch from north of Charleston in this yellow area all the way down the west coast or the Gulf Coast of Florida. We've got tropical storm warnings in the interior. This includes places like Orlando up towards Jacksonville. And then a hurricane warning covers the smallest area, but it does stretch from Daytona down to south of West Palm, and that's generally along and east of Interstate 95 in those areas where it gets really skinny, as you can see. So much of Florida will be impacted in one way, shape, or form. You need to be concerned and prepared to lose power. That's why we always tell you to have that kit ready. You need to have your medical kit, but you need to have a way to, have your batteries charged and that kind of thing. Make sure your phone is fully charged by tomorrow morning as well. So let that thing charge up, and if you have any extra battery packs, do that as well. Storm surge warnings are in effect from near Brunswick, Georgia, all the way down to Palm County, and that's where life-threatening storm surge is expected. It could be worst case reasonable scenario, 5 feet above what's normally dry ground. So that is life-threatening. And notice the surge possible here in the Big Bend area of Florida too. So we'll wait and see what happens exactly with this track, because it gets a little tricky when we start to curve on up towards the north. If that happens a little bit sooner, you're going to be in better shape towards the Big Bend. But if that happens later and we get back over open water, then we're going to be dealing with some more surge issues throughout here. Mike, this then moves through the Appalachians, into the Mid-Atlantic, then into the Northeast, but it gets absorbed, of course, by that big winter storm across parts of the West. So it's going to book out of here by the end of the weekend.
We'll be happy to get rid of it for sure. Jackie, thank you. Back to Florida now, to Vero Beach with meteorologist Mike Seidel. Mike, one of the attractions of Florida, no doubt, it's beautiful beaches, but those beaches are disappearing pretty quickly. You okay?
And look what just rolled. Yeah, this just rolled in. So you got to be really careful. Some of these waves are coming in, so just be careful. There's debris in the water, and that just kind of hit my ankle. I'm okay, but kind of startled me. Let's talk about the surf. It's coming on up. High tide is right now. We still have 2 more tomorrow to be concerned with, and the water gets higher and higher each high tide. Right now, we're losing more beach, more dune. We do have a concrete wall up here. It's pretty strong with concrete underneath, so I'm not worried about water getting into properties, but the beaches have been decimated. This is the 3rd day. Tomorrow's going to be day 4, and until Nicole goes by us, Early Thursday morning, and the winds go offshore. We're going to have this push of water. It's just unrelenting. There's the surf tonight, breaking way, way out. These are 7 to 8 footers. The buoy off Cape Canaveral, they've been measured as high as 17.5 feet. We have a long way to go all day tomorrow and tomorrow night, and then we're going to throw rain into the mix. Flood watches cover the entire east coast of Florida. That's going to be part of the inland impact with Nicole. Next advisory from the Hurricane Center at 10 p.m. Eastern.
It's nice to unwind after a long week of telling people how Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Is it natural? Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Al, did you make that call?
Honey, we already have Medicare. Why do I need to call?
Alan, the Feldman said we may be able to get additional benefits with a Medicare Advantage plan right here in our zip code with $0 monthly premiums.
Honey, what do you mean additional benefits? We turned 65, we got Medicare. That's all there is to it, right?
I'm talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. We have traditional Medicare, which is only Medicare Parts A and B, but not Part C.
Wait. So not everyone on Medicare is a Part C plan?
No, that's why we need to call, because there may be plans available with additional benefits that aren't covered under Medicare Parts A and B. We don't have a Medicare Part C plan which covers everything in Part A and Part B, plus extra benefits in Medicare Part C.
What kind of extra benefits?
There are great plans that may be available with extra benefits like dental, vision, and hearing.
Did you say dental?
Yes, dental. Medicare Part C plans could include dental benefits that help cover routine dental exams and teeth cleanings, plus dental x-rays, fillings, gum disease treatment, and dentures.
We need that. I'm calling.
If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now, because there may be plans with additional benefits available that are simply not covered under Medicare Parts A and B, like routine dental coverage. If you're on Medicare, you can call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period, even if you called last year. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits. You don't get a plan with additional benefits automatically, so call to speak with a licensed insurance agent right now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Remember, you don't get Medicare Part C plan benefits automatically. Call now for your free 2023 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Call 800-876-0319. 800-876-0319.
Thank you, Nature Made, for seeing that life is a little chaotic and creating new targeted blends to help. So when our sleep, stress, and immune health are thrown off, new Nature Made Well blends can help us find balance.
You got to frank it up.
Crank it up. Crank it up.
Yeah.
It's the perfect blend of flavor and heat. I put that on everything.
Dude, you coming?
Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max gels with more concentrated power, because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop Plop is fizz with Alka-Seltzer Plus. Also tried for fast sinus and pain relief.
This the biggest bounce of the summer. Hey, 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 hey. If you're coming and come down, play, play. If you feel too shy, then watch for me. Watch for me, watch for me. Shake it. This the biggest bounce of the summer. If you ain't coming, that's a bummer. Watch for me. This the biggest bounce of the summer.
Where can you go for the latest must-haves? And every season's nice-to-haves? Where can you get that perfect gift for dad? And hot cocoa mustaches for the kids? Where can you lose track of time, all while saving time at the same time? Lowe's, actually. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays.
Welcome back to Storm Center, everybody. We're getting some video in showing you some of the vulnerable areas that are at risk of Nicole's impact. So this is a heavily damaged Daytona Beach. this area was hit hard by Hurricane Ian, and unfortunately will not have its same level of protection as normal, as this area has already been damaged, unfortunately. So that really opens up the door for that water to get a little further inland and cause damage in areas that maybe it wouldn't have as we have the approach of Nicole. So let's take a look at some of the watches and the warnings that are in effect. This changed from earlier today, so if you're just tuning in, maybe you were in line voting at the polls today and now you're just tuning in to get the latest. Well, here we go. This shows you where the hurricane warnings now are in effect, from the Space Coast stretching down to Palm Beach. We've got tropical storm warnings inland, including Orlando, but also up towards Jacksonville. And then look at this, the Gulf side, the Gulf Coast of Florida under tropical storm watches. And so are places like Savannah and Charleston, South Carolina. We'll have to see exactly when Nicole pulls up to the north, because that's going to have a big impact on what you're going to get for surge into the Big Bend area if the center works back over open water and makes it into the Gulf, or is it going to stay over land? So timing is everything, and we're watching that big storm in the west for it to pick up Nicole eventually with time. In the meantime, you know, our time is running out for preparation. Hopefully, now that the sun is down, that you've already completed all of that. We've already been seeing some rain bands across the area today, and you can see we've got the wind vectors. That's those little white lines that you see there, showing you the wind direction. So we've already had onshore flow here for quite some time. The wind gusts have been picking up a little bit. This buoy pretty close to shore, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Jacksonville reporting gusts around 30. This buoy 49, this one picking up to 54. In fact, that's the first one that I've seen over the last couple of hours topping 50 miles per hour. So those will continue to pick up and get closer and closer to the coast. And the wind field is huge, as I mentioned earlier, nearly 400 miles away from the center of the storm. So the orange color that you see here is the wind field for the tropical storm force winds. Notice much farther away from the center on the north side of this compared to the south. And then the red color that you see there, that's where the hurricane force winds are expected to be. This takes you through tomorrow evening up to this point. And right here, the gray outline, you're probably like, what is that? That is the cone, right? And that's where the center of the storm is expected to go. And why we ask you not to focus on the center, because the impacts are felt so far away from the center of that cone. So if you're not in the cone, does not mean that you're not at risk. That will then curve up to the north, as I mentioned, near Thursday morning, and we'll watch for those strong winds to work their way into northern parts of Florida after that time. So when are conditions really going to go downhill? Well, this is the earliest time of arrival, not necessarily the most likely, but this is the time you need to be prepared for. And there you see this black line here. Anywhere within there, it will be 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. So notice that if it takes a little bit more of this southerly track, that will happen sooner for you in West Palm Beach, eventually working towards Orlando. And there you can see Wednesday at 8 p.m., those impacts coming in. Jacksonville stretching down towards the Tampa area. Now, here's a look at those alerts, as I mentioned, and then I just want to show you real quick. Do we have the cone? Yeah, there's the winds actually showing you when those strong winds are going to be really beginning to kick up. Landfall will most likely be overnight tomorrow night into Thursday morning. So there you can see midnight. That may be give or take a little bit either side of that window, and that's when we see the hurricane force winds. It will then move its way into the interior by Thursday morning and then work its way northward with time. So this is going to stick around through your Thursday, maybe even into Friday morning across this region. So Mike, let's talk a little bit more about it. I know we focus so much on coastal areas, but this is not just a coastal storm. This is going to have impacts well inland and on the other side of the peninsula.
It will. So places like Orlando will get hit hard. Go down I-4 into Tampa. You'll have issues. That's a live look at Tampa right now as we look over Busch Gardens. Temperatures in the 70s. Been a little breezy today, and you've got a whole lot more wind back in your forecast as well. So let's outline it for you. We have tropical storm watches in effect along the Gulf Coast of Florida. It does include Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota in that as well. All these areas that are highlighted in yellow on the map here. The winds be very gusty for us beginning tonight and then lasting through the event. I think through at least Thursday evening we'll have pretty breezy conditions. The peak of the winds likely to happen as the center of circulation gets closest to us. That's probably going to be a Thursday late morning to early afternoon. Winds here could be gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour, then backing off by Thursday evening and Friday morning, eventually exiting Florida. How much surge could we see? If the center comes back out over the Gulf of Mexico, we might see as much as 2 to 4 feet here through the bend of Florida, maybe 1 to 3 feet through Tampa Bay and then St. Pete as well. Off and on rain throughout the event, the heaviest of rain coming when the center of Nicole gets near us. That'll likely be for us midday on Thursday. Heavy rain.
Hey, Peloton, step into your power. Let's go.
Ah, you didn't come to work out. You came to outwork. Let's get it. Yo. Boom. Come on, you got this. Everyday man's on the block. Beats,
No challenge, no change.
The ting goes. Let's go.
Now you can rent the Peloton Bike or Bike Plus. Terms apply.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S. and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-500-1895. That's 1-800-500-1895. Or go to mesobook.com.
You'll always remember buying your first car and buying your starter home, or whatever this is. But the things that last a lifetime, like happiness, love, and confidence, you can't buy those, but you can invest in them. We believe that your investments should work harder for the future you imagine. And that's where our strategic investing approach can help. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
It'd be hard to say somebody's as enthusiastic about football as I am, but Hannah's got to be pretty close. Me and the tailgate gang before every game order
3 strawberry milkshakes, no toppings.
for good luck.
He doesn't even have to order them. I know exactly what he wants. One weekend, you had forgotten to get those milkshakes, and then we lost the game. And then the next weekend, he came back. The milkshakes were left sitting on the table.
Here she comes running behind me. Mr. Chip, you forgot your strawberry milkshakes again. My 3 shakes. That is neat.
Dude, you coming?
Because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop Plop is Fizz with Alka-Seltzer Plus cold and flu relief. Also try for Fizzy Fast cough relief.
Put an end to the dreaded dust cloud every time you empty your vacuum with the revolutionary Shark Wand-Vac self-empty system. It empties itself after every clean, trapping the mess for up to 100 times less dust in your home. The Shark Wand-Vac self-empty system.
Hi, William Shatner here. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year, it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year to make sure my plan's copays didn't go up.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You should too. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-975-4570. That's 1-800-975-4570 now.
Welcome home. I
wasn't expecting this.
My brother Paul created an organization that assists communities after natural disasters. Now my wife and I run the global response team.
Come on in. This is so amazing. Thank you all so much for coming in and doing this for us.
Fast Home Rescue, Saturday nights, 8, 7 Central, only on the Weather Channel.
We are back live here at the beach on the east coast of Florida. This is Indian River County. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, and this is Vero Beach, and the surf has been coming way up. Ahead of Nicole, we have hurricane warnings up for this part of the coast, the Treasure Coast, Melbourne, the Space Coast, and all the way down through Indian River here, Martin County, just to the Palm Beach County line. The 3 counties on South Florida, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, and Broward, tropical storm warnings. And look at those tropical storm watches. They go all the way up to Charleston, South Carolina. That's because this storm is huge. The wind field's huge. And we're going to start feeling tropical storm force conditions here before sunrise tomorrow morning. The real impacts here, the beaches, they've already been hit hard. This is the 3rd day of this, and the waves have gotten higher each day. The winds have been pretty steady, 20, 25 miles an hour. They really haven't ramped up. They've just been steady and strong. But Jackie, as Nicole approaches tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, that's when we could get gusts over 70 miles an hour. That raises the concern of some power outages. But 2 more high tides. When Nicole comes in tomorrow night, the tide will be heading out. Low tide at 2:18 Thursday morning. So that's one positive aspect of the timing, because tides are running a little bit more than 1.5 to 2 feet above average because of the full moon last night. So there you go, Jackie. Beach impacts by far number 1. Inland, watch out for some localized flooding. Flood watches up for the entire east coast of Florida.
Always looking for that silver lining, Mike. Certainly appreciate it. You know, hard to believe that we're dealing with a potent winter storm. At the same time, we're likely to be dealing with a hurricane. Take a look at this. This is a live look at Reno, Nevada, where you have been getting snow. Rain has been mixing in from time to time, but you get up into the higher elevations and it has been dumping. The Sierra Cement, that's right, Mammoth Mountain picking up 20 inches in the last 24 hours. And some parts of the Sierra picking up 3 feet in the last week. So this has been an atmospheric river that's just been aiming that moisture right at the mountains. We've got rain and thunderstorms that have been coming down across parts of Southern California. San Diego, record rainfall today, 0.64 inches. We've had some flood issues, so use a lot of caution if you have to travel. And there you can see all of that snow continue to come down. And this is all spreading inland across the Intermountain West and working its way towards the Midwest. Look at all the alerts that are in effect, stretching from California all the way up into Minnesota. So this is going to work eastward with time. And as we head into our Thursday, we could be talking about whiteout conditions at times in the Dakotas, while we're breaking record temperatures out ahead of this into parts of the Great Lakes. We had a lot of record highs today, or at least several of them, into the deep south 80s, 88 degrees in Alabama. Now, severe weather is going to be possible where the cold and the warm are coming together. So from Rochester to Des Moines, Fort Dodge, Kansas City, You all have the risk of severe thunderstorms on your Thursday, and that's not too far away from where we have winter storm watches that have been posted here, including Bismarck over towards Fargo and into International Falls. Here's a look at the latest snowfall forecast starting tomorrow through Friday. This is primarily a Thursday to Friday event, but we could get over a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snowfall. Looks like the bullseye here in North Dakota, Mike. Could we get our first named storm at the same time? We may have a landfalling hurricane. It's not out of the question, but the one saving grace too, if we're talking about silver linings here, Mike, is that this is the winter storm that's going to help kick Nicole up to the north and get it out of here.
Yeah, it is. It's really going to be a blessing, right? We're going to see this thing accelerate because of that winter storm, and Nicole is going to quickly move up into Canada. You take a look at the rainfall forecast and the possibility of flooding. It certainly will be there. You can see that places like Tampa up through Gainesville, a place like Jacksonville, heads up on the possibility of flooding coming in for us, and up around Brunswick and Savannah, and maybe even a place like, say, Hilton Head, South Carolina, or close to Charleston as well, but flooding could extend all the way up into North Carolina. Then we have a chance for some heavy rain and some flooding Friday into Saturday up into the mid-Atlantic, up I-95. Then up into the northeast, so places like Syracuse or Albany or Burlington, heads up on what's coming in for us as well. A couple of inches of rain are possible for us here. There's a look at the total rainfall forecast and the footprint of it. Large area of rain, and some of this will combine with the system across the Midwest, but some areas here, 2 to 3 inches of rain. Pittsburgh, we're looking at you up towards Syracuse. Could be some areas maybe around Portland, Maine, that gets some very heavy rain. As far as the forecast goes, hour by hour, you're going to see the rain roll in from the south, eventually turn, roll up into the northeast here. So by Friday morning, a lot of the Ohio Valley getting hit. Through Saturday, very heavy rain moving up through New England. By Saturday evening, exiting up into New Brunswick in Canada, and finally beginning to dry out just in time for your weekend. We'll be right back.
Dude, you coming? Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max gels with more concentrated power, because the only thing dripping should be your style. Plop Plop is Fizz with Alka-Seltzer Plus. Also tried for fast sinus and pain relief.
Hi, I'm Jason, and I've lost 202 pounds on Golo. Being a veteran, the transition from the military into civilian life causes a lot of stress. I ate a lot for stress. Golo and releases helped me with managing that stress and allowing me to focus on losing weight. For anyone struggling with weight and stress-related weight gain, I recommend Golo to you. This is a real thing. This is not a hoax. You follow the plan, you'll lose weight.
Hi, Phil Swift here. Before winter storms hit, get prepared with the Flex Seal family of products. A deep freeze can cause pipes to crack, but Flex Tape can easily patch those busted pipes. Flex Glue your old snow boots so they can make it through another season. Stop cold drafts and insulate your home by sealing up windows and doors. Make the Flex Seal family part of your winter storm kit. Flex Seal, because it works.
Don't you wish you could wave a magic wand and have whiter teeth? Well, you can, but it's not magic. It's power swabs. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and boom, whiter teeth and a better smile. And since you're not dealing with messy trays or awkward strips, you're less vulnerable to the harsh sensitivity they sometimes create.
I've used strips. They seem to really hurt my teeth. The power swabs, it just seemed very gentle.
It's so simple and easy. You just open it, you apply it to your teeth, you forget it's there. And I noticed that they're white and bright again like they were before.
I noticed actually a difference the first time that I used power swabs. You put on the first coat and then the activator goes on, and immediately you start seeing it working.
It only takes 5-minute applications to get a brighter, whiter smile with power swabs. You just snap, swab, and smile. Power swabs have been clinically studied to whiten natural teeth and remove stains from caps, crowns, and veneers. It's so powerful, it removes stains from coffee, tea, red wine, and even smoking.
I love my coffee in the morning.
I will never stop drinking coffee. I will not be the person drinking hot coffee with a straw.
As much coffee as I drink, I can use my power swabs and eliminate the staining.
When I use the power swabs, I applied it directly to my front tooth where the coffee stain was.
I like being able to individually get the teeth, and most importantly, it got kind of in between the grooves.
You can put it directly on the stain that you see on your teeth, and it's so precise.
But as powerful as it is, it's also gentle and causes 0 to minimal sensitivity.
This didn't sting, it didn't burn, it didn't have an aftertaste. It was just a swab, and I just got to rub it around my teeth, and that was it.
Take it from me as someone who has gone the dental route, but has also gone on the shelf route, and I've not really seen anything work as effective and as easy as power swabs.
Whiten your teeth this Thanksgiving by ordering Power Swabs and receive 40% off the regular price. Shipping is free, plus you receive a free quick stick pen to use on the go after meals or a cup of coffee. Visit powerswabs.com or call the number on your screen.
During Walmart's Black Friday Deals for Days, every Monday is a huge deal. Get a $79 HP Chromebook, plus other hot deals. Join Walmart Plus and you can shop online 7 hours early. Head to Walmart's Black Friday Deals for Days.
Breaking right now, I want to update you on some evacuations that have been ordered. Volusia and Flagler counties have issued them ahead of Nicole making landfall as a hurricane likely in Florida. That's about 36 hours or less even away. The evacuation gets underway starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning for areas east of Interstate 95. And this system, at least the wind field with it, is huge.
We think that Nicole will come ashore as a hurricane in places as far away as maybe Savannah, Georgia, because the tropical storm force winds. Then the storm pushes north. Some of the computer models showing 2 to 3 inches of rain possible. Of course, we have live team coverage for you. We begin with meteorologist Mike Seidel in Vero Beach, Florida. Mike.
And I'm Mike and Jackie on the beach as the tide is high and the waves are coming all the way up to the seawall, up to the steps here. We're under a hurricane warning. We'll time it out for you, let you know when the worst of the weather hits here on the Treasure Coast of Florida on Wednesday.
Thanks so much, Mike. Looking forward to that. And thank you for being with us in our extended special coverage of the next big tropical threat, Nicole. I'm meteorologist Jackie Jarris.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Bettis. We'll be with you through the night. We're going to get you through Nicole. Likely to strengthen here before it makes landfall on the east coast of Florida. That could happen around, say, midnight or so. Tomorrow night.
Yeah, and right now we already have 108 million people that are in the cone, but we can't stress enough that there are many more of us that will be feeling life-threatening impacts that are well beyond the cone. In fact, hundreds of miles away from where the cone is. 7 o'clock Eastern time because of the time change. They're coming in at 7 instead of 8 o'clock, so it's off by an hour. You might be saying to yourself, what? It took me a second. It's been a while since we had to deal with this.
You get used to that, right? 65-mile-per-hour winds. That hasn't changed from the previous advisory. One thing that did change, and that might be the effects of it might be felt later on, is that the pressure dropped 6 millibars in the last 3 hours between advisories. So could we see a corresponding wind increase in subsequent advisories? That's possible.
Yeah, pressure drops is a sign that the storm is intensifying. And it's been doing that through the day today. A large storm, an intensifying storm. The winds have gone up since earlier today, likely to become a hurricane by the morning. And we've been feeling these rain bands too, Mike, already. They've been light so far, but that will change into tomorrow for sure.
And definitely taking on a different look than what it did yesterday. It's a lot more circular in nature. We've got more thunderstorms around the center of circulation. Still some dry air on the south side. All the action is really on the north side, but here's the practical takeaway of all of this. We have hurricane warnings along the east coast. We have tropical storm warnings interior peninsula here, and then we have tropical storm watches along the west coast of Florida. So
that includes almost everybody in Florida, with the exception of way far south in the Keys. But this is going to be heading northward eventually. Right now, it's west-southwest. We're actually going to watch it take that turn, and where that turn happens is going to be pretty critical, especially for folks in the Big Bend area for their impacts.
It definitely will be. Let's get you to Florida right now. Meteorologist Mike Seidel in Vero Beach, where Mike, high tide this evening, and you saw a lot of water come up. There'll be all kinds of debris and all kinds of issues we'll see at the beaches here on the East Coast over the next, say, 2 days.
Yes, indeed, and it's a broad circulation, so it's not just a small area like typically with a tropical storm or hurricane. It's a huge area from South Florida all the way up to South Carolina. We've got tropical storm watches as far north as Charleston. The big concern is right out here, the city of Vero Beach. They're worried about the impacts right here on the coast.
Yes, we're very prone to beach erosion here in this area and further to the north, but we did have a lot more beach back then. There was a dune restoration project that did that, but we experienced some erosion of the dune in Ian, and some of the beach profile built back up, but the escarpment was still there. So we still have some, some protection of our infrastructure. Hopefully it holds up.
And this wave that just came in is the strongest one we've seen all the way up over the seawall. As a result, more sand is going out. I mean, it's just in and out. Beach erosion continues, and we've got another 24 plus hours of this. It's been going on like this since Sunday, but rougher now. The surf is up more, and the tides are increasingly higher and higher. We're about 30 minutes past high tide, Jackie. 2 more high tides tomorrow, and tomorrow night when we're on, as Nicole makes landfall, the tide will be going out. We will not be standing here likely. We'll be up elevated at a safe location. But boy, the winds will ramp up tomorrow. Right now, the winds are still running about 20 to 25 sustained, and we've seen that since Sunday afternoon. So that really hasn't changed yet, but it will change as Nicole draws closer. Jackie?
Yeah, we're seeing some of those tropical storm force wind gusts not too far off the coast on some of the buoys already, Mike. Thanks so much for that live report. We want to show you the latest satellite imagery, and Mike was mentioning how huge this storm is and that huge wind field. We already have onshore flow all across the region, and that's why we've been getting these battering waves already this far out in advance of the storm, which is still to the north and east of the Bahamas at this time. Here's some of those gusts I was talking about. There's a buoy, 43 miles per hour. There's 45, there's 54. So those have gone up in the last couple of hours. Jacksonville reporting 33 mile per hour wind gusts, 39 is what makes it a tropical storm. So the orange area, the big blob of orange, is the forecast wind field for tropical storm strength. And the red blob is the wind field for hurricane force. So the hurricane force winds are pretty compact and expected to stay pretty compact. But the tropical storm force winds extend way out, and you're going to feel these in Georgia and in South Carolina well in advance of this storm getting even close to you. Now, we've put the cone, that's this area right here. We've put the cone on the map with the wind field to give you an idea just how far outside of the cone the impacts are going to be felt. And this is hundreds of miles outside of where the cone is along the path of the storm. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind. And a lot of those stronger winds are north of where the center is making landfall. When are those going to be arriving? This map shows you the earliest arrival time. I think it's going to be a little bit more likely to see this in the afternoon tomorrow, but we could get them coming in already at 8 o'clock in the morning on West Palm Beach, especially if it takes a little bit more of this southwesterly track that it's currently on right now. But notice that those winds will extend inland, Orlando into the afternoon hours. Wednesday night will be more likely after the sun goes down from Jacksonville to just north of Tampa and then working its way through the Big Bend and on up towards Tallahassee. So that's why we have alerts covering the whole peninsula and on up into the Carolinas because of the size of the storm, but also because the path eventually could take this back out over open water into the Gulf of Mexico, and that will bring some bigger impacts to the Big Bend area if that does happen. Still too soon to actually say. We've got to wait for that trough to pick this thing up towards the north, and when that northerly turn happens could be critical. There's a look at your winds already, 40 mile per hour gusts tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Look at this, 50, 60, 70 late tomorrow night, midnight-ish, give or take, could be landfall. And then this begins to pull into central parts of Florida. Still Orlando getting hit hard with those strong winds on Thursday afternoon, and then calming down central Florida and southward by Thursday night. Mike?
Thank you, Jackie. We're getting an idea of just how windy it's been today in Daytona. Look how rough that surf is. Some folks out there taking a look at the rough water and wisely just staying on the edge of the beach there. But you can see their shirts, their shorts are really waving in the wind there, and it gets way worse The winds could peak here, 75 plus miles per hour along the east coast of Florida. Boy, that water looks really mean, doesn't it? It's going to get a lot worse, unfortunately. So let's run through what the water impacts may be here along the east coast from Nicole. That may likely become a hurricane before landfall. Areas from, say, Homestead up to Hallandale Beach here, likely to see 1 to 2 feet of storm surge, but it's really going to be all dependent on where the center of circulation or even maybe an eye comes ashore here. Right where that eye is or north of it is where we'll have the most storm surge. So there'll be a large area here, we think of 3 to 5 feet of storm surge for the central Atlantic coast here up through maybe a Jacksonville or Brunswick, and then 2 to 4 feet beyond that. And on the Gulf Coast side, we could also see 2 to 4 feet, depending exactly where the center goes. If it goes over the Gulf, then comes back, we'll get that. If it stays over land, we're not likely to get that 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. So our fingers are crossed for you, but time will tell exactly where it goes once it comes across Florida. Storm surge watch in effect there. Watch is way far south here, West Palm southbound, but storm warnings here, storm surge warnings from North Palm Beach up through Brunswick here, and then watches that go north from there. There's the onshore flow. Mike Seidel's been showing it to us masterfully there, showing just how much water is coming onshore, especially at high tide. That onshore flow continues through the event and maybe a little bit beyond as well. Here's a look at Wednesday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Center circulation over the Bahamas, and then coming westbound from there, potentially making landfall somewhere maybe near, say, a Port Lucie or maybe Vero Beach, and then coming inland from there. But still an onshore flow, really getting some big flow here up towards Jacksonville Beach, up towards, say, Brunswick, up towards St. Simon's Island, up toward maybe even Savannah. We've got offshore flow, though, in the Gulf of Mexico that could eventually turn onshore depending on where the center goes. But you can really see how we're going to maximize some storm surge each at Jacksonville Beach and coastal Georgia going late in the day on a Wednesday into early Thursday. Still onshore flow into South Carolina. So heads up there around Hilton Head, up around Charleston. Yellow areas highlighted here around Daytona, 3 to 6 feet of surge. Blue areas, 1 to 3 feet. And not all areas are created equal along the beach. Unfortunately, that's why there's a difference. A place like Hawaiian Inn Beach Resort here. Notice what they have, as do a lot of resorts here at Daytona Beach. They got a big wall, big seawall here. This one's about 6 feet tall. You're allowed to drive on the beach in certain areas, so the resort could be protected, although there will be avenues for water to get in, including some of the areas where the cars come in, right there at Minerva Avenue. That is a clear path for the ocean to come right toward A1A and fill up some of the neighborhoods there. Then there are places like this, where we just have small dunes, and we're not very well protected from storm surge here. These neighborhoods could go underwater. There's A1A. Water could go there and beyond. So this is why in many locations that are vulnerable, Jackie, you're asked to evacuate. That's specifically why you would.
So important. So we have some video that I want to share with you from our storm tracker, Charles Peak. He captured this from his drone, showing you some of the erosion that we've already been seeing in places like Stewart Beach, Florida, ahead of Nicole. We've got multiple alerts that are in effect, including storm surge warnings and hurricane warnings here. And you can see just how far up the shore the water is getting already. And that's just going to get worse with our next couple of high tide cycles. Now, on top of this, we're going to get some heavy rain. And if we get too much rain over places like maybe the St. Johns River, then that's going to start to fill up and try and drain out into the water, right? And then we've got the push from the wind trying to bring the salt water inland, and that can really complicate things and prolong some of the flooding issues that we could have. So this is what we're looking at when it comes to freshwater flooding, the heavy rain that could lead to some rivers, creeks, and streams rising, but also heavy downpours causing urbanized flooding. This covers most of the peninsula tomorrow through your Thursday morning, and we could get anywhere between 2 to 3, maybe 4, 5. Couldn't rule out 6 inches of rain somewhere. Most of us would be closer into the 2 to 4 inch range. Now, as tropical systems make landfall, they often produce tropical tornadoes. We've got a lot of friction. We've got a lot of spin into the atmosphere and different winds at different heights. So we do have that chance from about West Palm up through Melbourne into Titusville on up towards Daytona Beach, even Orlando in the risk area. The tropical tornadoes tend to be weaker. They tend to spin up very quickly. They can also spin down very quickly, but they're tough to see because they're often wrapped in rain. Take the warning seriously tomorrow because they can and do cause damage, and oftentimes we have less warning than what we would normally have in your typical supercell, especially into the plains. Here's a look at all that rain working its way in. We'll see where the heaviest of banding ultimately sets up, but this is going to work its way towards the west, and we'll see that heavy rain continue to come down. It's going to be causing some rising waters. It's going to be obscuring your vision if you're trying to drive. You want to stay off the roads as this approaches and through the duration. Now, as this moves closer towards the Big Bend area, that tornado risk then will spread farther north and up towards the east. So it's that right front quadrant into hurricane or tropical storm where that tornado risk is going to be greatest. On top of that, we'll likely see the banding of the rain and storms that could lead to some more localized flash flooding with time here. Especially on Friday, Mike, we could see that happen in the southern Appalachians. That's one of the areas I'm going to be really concerned about for the heavy rain with that orographic lift.
Yeah, we know before, history shows us that previous tropical systems caused them a lot of problems there in places like western North Carolina, in fact, deadly consequences. I want to take you to Jacksonville, Florida, and show you what's happening right now. For now, everything is good, but we're going to have problems as Nicole comes ashore here, especially out of Jacksonville Beach, where we think we could get a decent amount of onshore flow and beach erosion. St. Augustine will likely be in the same boat. All right, so let me update you on what we're expecting to see here, especially Central Florida and then up through North Florida. There are a look at our tropical storm warnings that do include places like Jacksonville, down toward Palm Coast, back toward Gainesville, ordinary tropical storm warning, then watches from Lake City, north from there that head up into Georgia and then South Carolina. As far as the wind gust forecast goes, it could get very, very windy, and potentially we might lose power in some places. We might have some damage, might have some tree limbs that come down. There could be some cleanup involved. This evening, winds could be gusting, say, 20 to 30 miles per hour. As Nicole intensifies and comes closer to us, these winds will intensify here. I-75 will be a highway you want to be off of. We'll have a lot of rain. We'll also have a lot of wind. Here we go. Midday on Thursday, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds in Ocala, 40 to 50 in Gainesville. Same for you out at Cedar Key. Even along I-10 from Lake City over toward Tallahassee, a difficult drive for you with some high winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, and some very heavy rain. By overnight, Thursday night into Friday, the wind should start to back off a little bit as the system is pulling away, but there could be some cleanup in its wake. We'll have more Nicole coverage right after this short break.
The world used to be unsearchable. Then came Google. Our body's rhythm used to be invisible. Then came Fitbit. What if the two forces joined together? What if you were more in tune with your body and with the world around you? What if Fitbit transformed the way we live? Again, Fitbit by Google.
These must have cost a fortune.
Nope, it was actually less than we expected.
They have old floors at home.
It's time to love your floors. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. Right now, save up to 15% on waterproof floors.
Where can you go for the latest must-haves? And every season's nice-to-haves? Where can you get that perfect gift for dad? And hot cocoa mustaches for the kids. Where can you lose track of time all while saving time at the same time? Lowe's, actually. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays.
If you want to go fast, go faster. And if you got the devil on your shoulder, take him for a ride.
How did Kellogg's combine crunchy oat clusters with a touch of honey, plump, juicy raisins, and tasty fiber into one delicious cereal? It took a lot of brandstorming. Get it? Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch. 2 scoops of delicious.
Better luck next time.
But I haven't even thrown yet.
You threw good money away when you bought those glasses. Next time, go to America's Best, where 2 pairs and a free exam start at just $79.95.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat this either. Book an exam today at americasbest.com.
This is Antonelli's Cheese Shop, and we're the Antonellis.
We chose our Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One because we earn unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase.
And with no preset spending limit, our purchasing power adapts to our business needs. What's in your wallet?
Oh, what a good time we will have. You can make it happen, girl.
Voltaren, the joy of movement.
Ordinary tissues burn when Theo blows, so Puffs Plus lotion rescued his nose. With up to 50% more lotion, Puffs brings soothing relief. A nose in need deserves Puffs Indeed, America's #1 lotion tissue.
Ubrelvy helps you fight migraine attacks. You won't take a timeout. One dose of Ubrelvy quickly stops migraine in its tracks within 2 hours.
Do not take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Most common side effects were nausea and tiredness.
Ask about Ubrelvy, the anytime, anywhere migraine medicine.
Welcome home.
I wasn't expecting this.
Fast Home Rescue, Saturday nights, 8/7 Central, only on the Weather Channel.
Hi, William Shatner here. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year, it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year to make sure my plan's copays didn't go up.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You should too. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-975-4570. That's 1-800-975-4570 now.
You can't stop a force of nature. This hurricane season, rely on one of your own. It's a fact. No other news network out there is trusted more than the Weather Channel.
This is epic.
Trusted to give you every advantage before the storm. Trusted to be there where and when you need us. Trusted to work around the clock until every threat is over.
I want you to show you how powerful the winds are here.
America doesn't trust hurricane season to just anyone.
We are tracking Tropical Storm Nicole for you right now, taking aim at Florida. Hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, and tropical storm watches. And in fact, those tropical storm watches extend up into South Carolina and Georgia. By this time tomorrow, winds will be picking up tremendously along the Atlantic side of Florida. We think in roughly 30 hours or less, landfall will be occurring. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. We're going to bring you everything you need to know about Tropical Storm Nicole, which could become a hurricane before landfall. Not every day that we get a landfalling hurricane in the month of November. This could be that moment. There's Nicole right now. A lot better form today than it was yesterday when it was a subtropical system. It's taken on more tropical characteristics today, including more convection near the center, although there is some dry air on the south side. All the action is really on the north side at this point, and some showers have rolled their way over into Florida. Winds 65 miles per hour, pressure 984. The pressure has been dropping here this evening. We haven't seen a corresponding increase in wind speed as of yet, at least not with the latest advisory, between the latest two advisories, but that may occur here later on this evening. We are expecting by tomorrow to have a hurricane on our hands. There's some more convection. You can see the lightning here, so some taller thunderstorms around the center of circulation, at least on the north side, and there's a little bit of rain coming into Florida as we speak. There again are our warnings and our watches that extend extend through much of Florida, including especially vulnerable locations where the center of circulation or maybe even an eye will come ashore here. As far as the winds go, very gusty this evening. 33-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Vero Beach already. These winds will only get worse. It's an onshore flow the entire time, too. It was windy, breezy Sunday, yesterday, today, and the winds get incrementally worse here. Let's show you the timing. That'll be at the top of your screen there. You'll see the color codes here on the ledge, and that'll be the corresponding miles per hour wind speed that we see. But winds will be very gusty for us this evening. In many places, 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts. Still, Nicole's going to be way over here off your screen east of the Bahamas. Winds will still be on the increase, though, as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, sitting very close to the Bahamas, winds in Jacksonville, 35 to 40, 35 to 40 in Vero Beach, and this is tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now you watch the Nicole sit right at the coastline. This now is midnight tomorrow night. Winds could be gusting to hurricane strength here in Vero Beach, 60 to 75 mile per hour winds, 50 to 60 in West Palm. Offshore wind in Miami at 30 to 35, Orlando, Cedar Key, Tampa, Jacksonville, all very, very windy. And then you can see the circulation coming right inside Florida. So right over Central Florida, we believe. Vero Beach 50 to 60, Orlando 40 to 50, same for you in Cedar Key as well as Tampa. So even though a place like the Gulf Coast side won't feel the direct surge impact, say, from this, you're certainly going to feel the wind impact. And then coming northbound from there, getting up along I-10, Tallahassee, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds by Thursday. As far as the storm surge goes, the highest storm surge is going to be here along the Atlantic coast where we get the direct landfall. Some of the surge here could be 3 to 5 feet. Watch it extend from Brunswick up toward Charleston and then north of Tampa around the Big Bend over towards, say, St. Mark's and near Apalachicola. How much surge will we get? Expect in some spots here 3 to 5 feet of water above normally dry ground. There'll be some spots that are more susceptible than others, places where we don't have any seawalls, places where we don't have very big dunes, and then some areas over here as well that could see 2 to 4 feet along the Gulf Coast side. As far as the track goes, that hasn't changed a whole lot here over the last 2 days. It's really been pretty consistent about where it's headed. A little bit of a northerly track, though, as we go through Florida and then rapidly accelerating off into New England, Jackie, as it's picked up by another large storm system in the middle of the country that produces a lot of snow, but that'll be a saving grace. The faster it goes, the less of the impacts from wind, especially rain.
We want that thing to keep on moving. Unfortunately, it's going to be a slow go of it for places like Palm Beach, where I am virtually right now. You've already been seeing some light rain this afternoon and this evening. Hasn't amounted to very much just yet, but conditions are going to be ramping up starting tomorrow as Nicole inches closer. We'll watch for heavier downpours. We'll see frequent lightning. We could see tropical tornadoes. That's all possible. You're under a hurricane warning and a storm surge warning here in Palm Beach. So just be ready tonight and tomorrow. Hopefully things go in your favor and you work out okay and that all your preparation is going to pay off for you. Just stay away from the water, stay away from the coast itself, and hopefully we'll be all right. So here's a look at where the hurricane warnings are from just south of Boca, stretching all the way up towards the Space Coast. But you go inland, the red areas, that's where we're dealing with the tropical storm warning. So still some big impacts there, especially with wind, but also with some heavy rain. As we take a look at what some of the wind gusts have been doing, generally been seeing gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour tonight, but that is going to change as we go into tomorrow. The wind's really going to start to pick up, especially in the afternoon and into the evening hours. Landfall potentially midnight, give or take, either side of that an hour or two, and then it moves inland, but we'll still see strong winds here, 50, 60 miles per hour. That's enough to cause damage. Those winds finally begin to die down as this lifts northward by Thursday afternoon and evening, but still some gusts around 20, maybe 25 miles per hour.
A Kohler home generator never misses a beat. It automatically powers your entire home in seconds and keeps your family connected. With a heavy-duty commercial-grade engine and no refueling, even when the power goes out, life rocks on. Right now, get a free 10-year extended warranty and up to $750 off.
Right here, right now.
It was my son Jaden's 5th birthday, and he wanted Chick-fil-A.
My husband was a Marine, her husband's a Marine. Her husband had been gone for almost 6 months at that time, and I just knew that we had to do something extra special for him.
When I get to the door, actually, I was very surprised.
We brought the cow out and delivered to them.
Do you know who that is? Jaden was really excited about it.
I wanted to be the extra family for them that night.
Oh, thank you.
Yay.
So Santa Claus was here.
There's nothing better than being a kid on Christmas morning. Until you become a parent. And even though these moments don't last forever, Duracell can make them last longer.
Meet Leon the Third, Leon the Second, and Leon the First of them all. 3 generations who all bank differently with Chase. Leon's saving up for his first set of wheels. Nice try.
Really?
This Leon's paying for his paint job on the spot. And this Leon, as a Chase private client, he's in the south of France taking out cash with no ATM fees. That's because this family of Leons has Chase.
Actually, it's Leon.
Ooh la la. One bank for now, for later, for life. Chase, make more of what's yours.
He can drink from my saucer anytime.
Where did he learn to slide like that?
I know where.
With thousands of live and on-demand classes to fit any schedule.
If you just added speed, you're my people, Peloton.
And world-class instructors, Peloton is the gift to get you moving.
Keep working, Peloton family.
Rent the Peloton Bike or Bike Plus, month to month, no commitments. Terms apply.
The holidays were lonely for the Yeti, but after saving big with early Black Friday at Amazon, Yeti became more social. Shop legendary deals at Amazon.
Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl is back, which means the never-ending pasta you crave is back. Starting it with our never-ending first course, well, that's always been here. Never-ending pasta bowl, starting at $13.99 for a limited time.
We are tracking Nicole for you, and you can see the waves throughout the day just lapping at the beach here. This is in Daytona Beach, and we're going to see a lot of beach erosion, we believe, because of Nicole, and it gets a lot stronger before it makes landfall, and so we could maximize some of the wave action that we see. Again, this is time-lapse, but it shows you just how rough the water has been throughout the day. No one in the water, thank goodness. And from this point going forward, Jackie, all eyes need to be on Nicole here, especially along the east coast of Florida, where we're going to maximize some of the effects of this storm.
Yeah, I love a good time lapse. It really shows you some of the changes and the fluctuations in the sky conditions, but also our wave action, which is picked up today as well. A tropical storm Nicole has gotten stronger. It's got winds of 65 miles per hour. The pressure has dropped pretty significantly in the last couple of advisories and last couple of recons we got from the hurricane hunters. So we do expect with time that those winds will go up even further. So we will likely have a hurricane on our hands, and that could happen by tomorrow morning. We'll see what the 10 o'clock Eastern time advisory has to hold. That's coming up. I know meteorologist Chris Warren's going to be with us. I think he's with Dr. Nab. Yeah? You know? Yeah, I think he's with Dr. Nab. So great coverage ongoing and continuing here for tonight. So there's Nicole, 65 mile per hour winds. Notice it's moving in a west-southwesterly direction. So we're getting this little bit of a pull southward, and you need to be prepared for landfall just a little more than 24 hours from now. Hurricane warnings are in effect from the area. We expect that on northward, and tropical storm warnings farther inland, including Orlando Orlando, Jacksonville. We've got watches in effect for the Gulf side, and we couldn't rule out a second landfall potentially if this gets back out over open water here into the Big Bend area. That's one of the possible scenarios depending on how soon this begins to pull more northerly, which will happen with time. Check out the winds right now. Nothing too serious. We've got 33-mile-per-hour gusts there at Vero Beach, but the stronger winds are just offshore. They're getting close, and they're going to be moving closer by tomorrow morning. Storm surge warnings in effect from Palm Beach all the way up towards Brunswick. That's where we're expecting the greatest water level rises above normally dry ground. Worst case reasonable scenario, 3 to 5 feet here. So that is life-threatening storm surge. And if you're told to evacuate, you need to do that. I know a lot of those orders are kicking in starting tomorrow morning. Here's the latest track. And keep in mind, when we look at a cone, that's just where the center of the storm is expected to go. So it could just as easily take this route and stay over land after making landfall as it could taking this route and have a second landfall in the Big Bend area. So you need to be prepared for that over here as well. And we could have some heavy rain all throughout. That's what I'm going to be most concerned about with time as this interacts with the higher terrain into the Appalachians. Here's a look at the computer model forecast, just showing you that persistent onshore flow here. So this is going to be a long duration event here for much of the Florida Peninsula. This is going to go all through tomorrow, all through Thursday, and then it's going to pick up forward speed, which is a little bit of good news that eventually we'll get it out of here by the weekend. Mike?
It is, Jackie. Thank you. Let's get another look at conditions on the ground. And meteorologist Mike Seidel is in Vero Beach, where crews have been hard at work getting ready for Nicole.
Of all the impacts from Nicole here on the beaches of Indian River County, the most concerning is here at the beach erosion, the coastal flooding. We've had this onshore wind since Sunday, so we've had 3 days of this, and these winds are going to ramp up on Wednesday. Potentially hurricane force wind gusts late Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. That's when landfall is forecast. So they are prepping, they are ready, what is forecast to be a Category 1 hurricane at landfall.
We're very prone to beach erosion here in this area and further to the north, but we did have a lot more beach back then. There was a dune restoration project that did that, but we experienced some erosion of the dune in Ian, and some of the beach profile built back up, but the escarpment was still there. So we still have some protection of our infrastructure. Hopefully it holds up.
One other thing that Monty Hall talked about was the bridge, and when it closes. When the winds are sustained at 45 miles an hour, that's very likely sometime during the evening on Wednesday into sometime on Thursday morning. In the meantime, we have 2 more high tides on Wednesday. Fortunately, the landfall is forecast around the time of low tide, or maybe just before. That's 2:18 Thursday morning, and that will save us from at least a couple of feet of water rise. We've got that storm surge warning now for a 3 to 5 foot surge above normally dry ground. And don't forget those rain squalls. Flood watch is up now for the entire east coast of Florida into Thursday. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel here in the rough surf at Vero Beach, Florida.
And be sure to stay tuned to the Weather Channel for continuing coverage of Nicole. You can also watch the Weather Channel live now on Hulu, so if you have a subscription, you can check us out there.
If you still have symptoms of moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis or active psoriatic arthritis after a TNF blocker like Humira or Enbrel, Rinvoq is different and may help.
Stand up to your symptoms with Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that tackles pain, stiffness, swelling. For some, Rinvoq significantly reduces RA and PSA fatigue.
It can stop further irreversible joint damage, and Rinvoq can leave skin clear or almost clear in PSA. That's Rinvoq Relief.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Ask your rheumatologist for Rinvoq. Rinvoq. Make it your mission. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Thanks.
Jake from State Farm, I really need to know.
Go spicy or go home, right?
What? No. What if I'm not sure I have the right coverage for my car?
Oh, your agent can help me make sure it's just what you need.
What if I accidentally hit a food truck and it gets covered in empanadas?
You can file a claim on the app. At State Farm, we're there for your what-ifs.
Thanks.
Oh.
That is too spicy. That's for you.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
Hey, Dad, I'm almost out.
I got you.
Any questions, Chris?
All good. Thanks, Maura.
Healthier is managing all your family's prescriptions in one app.
Extra hard studying calls for something extra. So you serve up new DiGiorno fully stuffed crust pizza. Because pizza with an extra layer of cheese stuffed edge to edge throughout the entire crust always hits the spot. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
This holiday, make no mistake, everything here is Philadelphia cheesecake.
Cheesecake is everything.
Make your own.
Own every mile at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Hurry in to get our best deals of the season. Get in and get away. Get 0% APR financing plus 0 payments for 90 days on select vehicles. Now, during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
Ironic. Edelman's struggling with reception. You need a better network. And Verizon's new Welcome Unlimited plan for just $30 a line.
Verizon for $30?
Yeah.
Touchdown! Everyone can get Verizon for just $30 a line. Now's the time to switch. Verizon.
What makes Burt's Bees sensitive skincare different? Our formula is crafted with calming aloe and soothing rice milk to help restore your skin's moisture barrier. For stronger, less sensitive skin. Seriously good stuff. Burt's Bees.
Welcome back as we continue to track Tropical Storm Nicole. We're getting a video showing you some areas that are particularly vulnerable right now from the impacts of Nicole. This is a heavily damaged Daytona Beach. These areas were hit hard because of Hurricane Ian. Remember that. And now we're on alert for more potential damage as Nicole closes in. Let's take a look at the watches and warnings now that are in effect, covering so much of the Florida Peninsula and now extending into Georgia and South Carolina. The yellow, where we have tropical storm watches in effect. There you can see hurricane warnings in effect in the purple. And in the red, we've got our tropical storm warnings. Orlando included in that. Jacksonville included in that. Miami, you've got the tropical storm watch you can see in the coastal areas. A lot of that is along and east of Interstate 95. Let's talk about some of the wind impacts. We're going to have all of the impacts that you would typically expect with tropical cyclone, but the wind impact in this one is particularly interesting, I think, because the wind field is so huge. The tropical storm force wind gusts extend out 380 miles from the center of the storm. That is a very long distance, and on the, I would call it on the extra large side of tropical cyclones. So here you can see the center is still way over here. We've had the onshore flow for quite some time already. Some of the most extensive tropical storm force wind gusts extend north of the storm. So it's not 380 miles, you know, perfectly all the way around it. It's mostly on the northern side of the storm. Now look at some of the gusts. They've gone up in some areas, down a little bit in other. 33 in Jacksonville. Our buoys have been pretty consistent between 40 and 55 miles per hour for the gusts just offshore. So it's getting closer and working its way in. Now this shows you where we expect the wind field to be in terms of the tropical storm force winds. In the orange blob and in the red blob is the hurricane force winds. So notice how much smaller of a space those hurricane force winds are. It's a pretty small concentrated area, but the tropical storm force winds extend way out. So you could be feeling these at the coast in Georgia and South Carolina already tomorrow, as opposed to waiting as this makes its closest approach of the center of the storm to you. Now this area that we put here, that's the cone. And that is the projected path of where the center of the storm goes. But with our wind field almost 400 miles out from the center of the storm, that's why we have these impacts that are so far away from the cone. So just because you're not in the cone does not mean you're not going to have impacts. You are going to have impacts all throughout that orange area. This is in the afternoon on Thursday, so notice southern parts of Florida getting off, and then we're watching the northern areas still getting impacted pretty significantly. Even Orlando could still get these hurricane force wind gusts in the afternoon, midday anyway, on your Thursday. The time for the earliest arrival of the tropical storm force winds tomorrow morning down here towards West Palm, tomorrow evening over here towards Jacksonville and into the Tampa area. So as we look at those alerts, you can see it covers both coasts, the Gulf Coast as well as the Atlantic coast, and those winds will be more northeasterly at first, but look at what happens with time. Those winds are going to pick up. We're going to end up getting landfall likely overnight Wednesday and into your Thursday morning. We have offshore winds over here the whole time, so that pushes the water out. But we may get the center of this to move back over open water, and if so, we could have some surge issues and stronger wind gusts here towards the Big Bend. If it stays over the land, you're going to be a little bit better off in terms of surge, but you're still going to have some of these strong wind impacts. Look at Savannah, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Everybody within those alerts needs to be prepared for power outages. That certainly could happen. I know this is a Category 1 hurricane. You might say it's not a major hurricane, but it has life-threatening impacts. You want to make sure that you ride out the storm in a safe place, and that if you are told to evacuate, that you will do that. So Tampa, one of the cities over on the Gulf side over there, and we'll have some impacts for sure here, Mike. What are you expecting for Tampa?
The winds will be increasing for us here through landfall and beyond. That's a look right now. It's been breezy throughout the evening. Winds right now are gusting to 22 miles per hour as you look over Busch Gardens here. But for some of us, one thing we could really be aware of is the threat from winds. So we're going to have opportunities here for winds that could gust to maybe 50 miles an hour or so. We're going to have some heavy rain at times that could cause some localized flooding. We do have tropical storm watches that are in effect for Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, down toward Fort Myers. That'll include portions of I-4. Head over toward Lakeland. You're going to be a tropical storm warning. Head over toward Orlando. You'll be in a tropical storm warning as well. Here's a look at the wind forecast. This evening, again, breezy. Gets worse tomorrow. Landfall expected tomorrow overnight, and so the winds will probably be at their worst Thursday morning across Tampa and St. Pete. Here we are, 2 o'clock in the morning. 50 to 60 mile per hour winds here at St. Pete, 50 to 60 in Tampa, Sarasota, 40 to 50. As Nicole gets maybe even closer, I wouldn't be surprised to see wind gusts at around 60 or so. And then Nicole could come off of the Gulf Coast here and then head its way up toward maybe the Big Bend area, then wrap back down toward Georgia. Now, Thursday night, going into Friday morning, winds start to back off a little bit here and should quickly begin to improve throughout the day on Friday. Storm surge, it's a possibility, especially north of Tampa from, say, Crystal River or Cedar Key back toward St. Mark's or Apalachicola here, 2 to 4 feet. And then in Tampa Bay itself, 1 to 3 feet, which I think is manageable for us. One other thing we'll watch for is some at times heavy rain, especially on Thursday. The timing for that is late Wednesday into Thursday. Notice here overnight Thursday, really heavy downpours come in, including Thursday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, getting hit with very heavy rain. We're back after this.
Some people like to talk into microphones. We prefer dropping them. The MDX Type S. A new era of premium performance.
Did you know Google makes a phone? Sure, it's beautiful, but it does things other phones can't do, which is how it takes stunning photos in the dark, can edit annoying items out of pictures, and unblur faces. Why, it'll even put some of that genius in your ears, or on your wrist. Beautifully, of course. Introducing the new Google Pixel Watch, Google Pixel Buds Pro, and our newest Google Pixel phones. Switch to Verizon and get Google Pixel 7 Pro on them with select trade-in and 5G unlimited plans.
Psoriasis really messes with you. Try, hope, fail.
No one should suffer like that.
I started Cosentix. 5 years clear.
Real people with psoriasis look and feel better with Cosentyx. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections, some serious, and the lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Tell your doctor if your Crohn's disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
Best move I ever made.
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
More truck owners are switching to Ram, which means more people behind the grill are switching to Ram.
Can you flip that?
And more people behind the grill. More first leg of the road trips. More uncles who take Thanksgiving football games too seriously. And more people who can't resist telling you that the leaves are changing.
Leaves are changing.
Are switching to Ram.
During the Ram Black Friday sales event, get 0% financing plus $2,000 total bonus cash on the 2022 Ram 1500.
Looking for a safer way to burn yard waste? Stop. Don't burn in a rusty barrel like this. Burn the safe way with the Burn Cage. It doesn't just burn, it incinerates, leaving nothing behind but fine ash. And when you're done, the Burn Cage folds up neatly for storage.
Go online to drburncage.com to request your free product catalog. The Burn Cage is now on sale for a limited time, so hurry. Go online today. That's drburncage.com.
ButcherBox delivers grass-fed beef, organic, free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Your Thanksgiving main course is on us. Get your free turkey today.
Your cravings are as unique as you are. With over 1,400 delicious snacks, Nuts.com can satisfy everyone. Enjoy every flavor of happy and get free shipping on your first order.
I'm Mike Corey. I travel the world to carve a path for those who aren't afraid to get a little bit dirty.
That is the craziest thing I have ever done in my life.
Let's go on an uncharted adventure.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel's continuing coverage of Tropical Storm Nicole. We have hurricane warnings posted for the east coast of Florida. We have tropical storm warnings that extend up through central Florida. That includes Kissimmee and Orlando. And tropical storm watches around Fort Myers, Sarasota, St. Pete, and Tampa, extending up into Georgia and South Carolina. We have everything you need to know about this tropical storm, which, Jackie, we believe will become a hurricane before it makes landfall.
All right, we want to switch our attention to the west right now, where the fall flakes have been flying in places like Reno. Look at that. Looks like they got all the holiday colors up right now as well. I guess it's looking more like the holidays as it gets closer and closer. And we got quite the dump of snow in some areas, just a handful of inches around the Reno, Tahoe area, but you get up into the higher elevations and we've seen some totals around 20 inches in just the last 24 hours. So this is an important storm system for many reasons. One, it's bringing some much needed moisture across parts of the west, primarily into the higher elevations of the mountains. That is going to be our snowpack reserve, which returns in the spring as it melts, as filling up our reservoirs. But we've also seen some really heavy downpours into the lowland areas and some flooding as a result. Some of the debris flows happening over some of the burn scar areas, which is a problem, and travel is difficult at times. But the system is heading towards the north and the east. It's heading towards the Midwest. So it's going to bring all this snow and all these alerts into that area where winter storm watches have now been posted. As the storm works its way at the surface on Thursday to the Midwest, out ahead of it, it will continue to bring those record warm temperatures, several of which we've already had today across the east, pushing 80s and 90s in some spots. We're going to have very cold air on the backside of it and a tight gradient between pressures, so we are going to have a lot of wind. This will help to bring a risk of severe weather with strong upper-level support from southern Minnesota down into parts of Kansas and Missouri, including Kansas City, Des Moines, and Rochester, Minnesota. And on the backside where the cold air is, that moisture is going to wrap around the backside of all of that and bring near whiteout conditions, I think, from time to time anyway, along the I-94 corridor, along I-90, Fargo, Bismarck, Grand Forks, International Falls, Pierre, Aberdeen, and Rapid City, all under winter storm watches right now. This is going to be the first significant snowfall of the season for this parts of the northern high plains, and this is going to be an overachiever with a foot, maybe 1.5 feet of snow in a few of these areas. So travel is going to be extremely difficult, and this is going to be very impactful. The timing of this, notice on the warm end of things, starting out here on Wednesday with rain in most of these spots. We'll likely see a transition zone of freezing rain, which is the stuff that comes down as liquid and then freezes on contact. That is going to create a glaze of ice on the roadways before the snow comes and really add insult to injury when it comes to travel conditions here. This then works its way into the Great Lakes late Thursday and into your Friday morning. And ultimately, this is the big system, which is going to be kicking Nicole to the curb. It's going to help draw it up towards the north, Mike, and then accelerate it as it kind of absorbs our tropical system into the northeast.
Usually to push something along that's tropical, you have to have something of equal or greater force, right? And this will be that greater force. I want to show you how things play out beyond Florida for us here, because for some of you here in Georgia and the Carolinas, high-impact rain event, unfortunately. That will include western North Carolina. The mountains here can be very susceptible to flash flooding as well as landslides, mudslides. So be aware of this risk with 3 to 5 inches in our forecast. Large areas of 1 to 2 and pockets of 2 to 3 inches of rain as well. Needless to say, we'll have some issues with some flooding. And so there are some areas here, especially highlighted in dark green on your map, where flooding will be a likelihood. So Tampa, Gainesville, Lakeland, up towards, say, Brunswick, Savannah, Hilton Head, South Carolina, Charleston, heads up for you. Friday into Saturday, watching for more flooding now. That could include, I would say, Greensboro, North Carolina, and then roll your way northbound from there. So that would be places, say, like Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., State College, up toward Hartford, New York, and Newark included in that as well. Syracuse to Burlington, an opportunity for some flooding for us. If you take a look at the overall footprint of rain, it's a wide area of rain. Again, this will also combine with our snowstorm that Jackie was referring to, but large areas of 2 to 3 inches of rain from Syracuse back down through Pittsburgh, down toward Charleston, West Virginia, and then some pockets here into New England where we'll have some heavier rain, and that may be even very close to Portland, Maine. If you look at the hour-by-hour forecast, you'll see how everything is drawn up from Florida, comes into Georgia, and then the Carolinas. There's that system just waiting in the wings Thursday night, right? That's going to pick this up and then push it. You see that movement? You see that pivot that happens? And then off to the north and east it goes. I-95 will not escape rain with this one. Saturday early morning, we're going to have rain that persists and maybe even some thunderstorms embedded within this as well. So Monday morning, absolutely miserable for you here in Philadelphia, New York, Hartford, and Boston, right up into northern New England here. Starting to dry out a little bit for you back across the Ohio Valley. By late in the day on Saturday, everything is exiting. Nicole has gone, or what's left of it has gone up into New Brunswick here, and we're finally drying out. Well, thanks for joining us here for our coverage of Nicole. Continuing coverage here on the Weather Channel with our hurricane expert Dr. Rick Knapp, meteorologist Chris Warren, next.
Have you seen my new phone yet? It like folds in half.
I would never switch to Samsung. I love my phone.
What? Folds in half.
You see, I love my phone. I would never switch to Samsung.
A thin, painted line. The only thing between you and a life-changing accident. But are these lines enough? A Subaru with eyesight watches the lines for any danger and can automatically stop itself.
Is everyone okay? I'm okay.
Your family is safer in a 3-row Subaru Ascent. Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Huh. They look different online.
Jeez. Wow, that's a lot of rolls.
When you prefer dream vacation over a rental nightmare.
Gesundheit. Let's get you checked in.
It matters where you stay. Hilton for the stay.
Dad, tomorrow, can we go to the playground?
All right, we're headed to the playground.
Yeah, we're going to the playground.
Have fun.
We're coming. I'll see you later. I'm headed to the playground.
Wait for me. Yeah, just like that.
I've got one more. You think I've never been to the playground?
Shop Best Buy and experience the magic of giving the perfect gift.
The holidays, I love it, love it, love it.
We go all out with the lights.
Food, we live for food.
I love Mama's dumplings. We go through boxes of Hanukkah candles.
Of course, smell like likamaka for Christmas.
He goes one way and I go the other.
To not have to be an adult for a few hours.
It makes you feel like you're part of something bigger in this huge world.
That, to me, is everything.
This is beautiful. You ready, babe?
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say. I wanna be with you.
From Bolt to Blazer, Equinox to Silverado, Chevy EVs are for everyone, everywhere.
A November tropical storm on its way to Florida and then other parts of the East Coast. Tonight, tropical alerts out for nearly 20 million people from Miami to Charleston, South Carolina. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren alongside hurricane expert and former director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Rick Now. We are live until midnight Eastern time, 11 p.m. Central. Let's get to the very latest right now with what we know on what is Tropical Storm Nicole. This is a large system that we are watching and tracking right now here in the Atlantic east of the Bahamas. And the path of this storm expected to go somewhere either within this would be the center of the storm, or just outside of it. So just the center, some of the worst of the weather here associated with what eventually could be a hurricane as early as tomorrow afternoon as it's moving over the Bahamas. So the landfall could be anywhere in here, essentially. But some of the worst of the weather will be north of the landfall. We're going to have expert analysis on that here in just a moment. And then the storm tracking up the northeast, up the East Coast into the northeast. So at this time, hurricane warnings posted here for several counties along the East Coast of Florida. And the threat for storm surge is also very real, could eventually lead to some evacuation. Storm surge warnings posted all the way up to Georgia, from West Palm all the way up to Brunswick, Georgia. The potential here is, at this point, looks like it could be up to 3 to 5 feet of water over normally dry ground. That is a possibility. And then the winds. Just take a look at the winds here. This is the wind gust forecast. This is starting out tomorrow morning, mid-morning. It is going to be stormy already. Gusts at times 35 to 40 miles an hour, especially at the immediate beaches. Also remember, the winds going over the Atlantic Ocean, pushing that water on shore. Rough surf, beach erosion, certainly a possibility. By midnight tomorrow night, We're going to see these winds in places from Orlando up to Jacksonville around 50 miles an hour. And you're going to see those gusts continuing into Thursday night around 50 miles an hour at their highest. So you're getting 20 plus hours potentially in some areas of an onshore flow of winds gusting at times to 50 miles an hour. Let's take a look now at the European forecast model. This is tonight, 10 o'clock. You can see the storm continuing to strengthen as it moves over the Bahamas. Again, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center does bring this to a hurricane by tomorrow afternoon. The European forecast model then does take the center into Florida. Again, that is one computer model. Then it takes it right up along the west coast and then bringing some stormy weather into Georgia. Again, that's one possible outcome. We'll get into some of the others. Rainfall, of course, will also be a big issue, 3 to 5 inches in many areas along the eastern seaboard. And along a lot of the coastal areas in Florida, red flags up. Many of South Florida beaches already, including here in Boynton Beach, with mandatory and voluntary evacuations ordered ahead of the landfall of what is expected to be, at least the forecast, a hurricane, Hurricane Nicole. Here in Palm County and other South Florida counties, evacuation zones A and B have been ordered to leave by 7 tomorrow morning. Similar evacuation orders issued in Volusia County, Flagler County as well. In Daytona Beach shores, people busy today filling up sandbags and getting ready for what could be on the way, doing what they can to protect their homes. Dr. Rick Knabb is here, our hurricane expert and former director of the National Hurricane Center. And Dr. Knabb, I think that is important, your experience at the National Hurricane Center, because you really have that in the office. You know, you led it, so you really know the workings of it, what the warnings mean, what the different products, the different forecasts. What's the goal of that? What are we trying to communicate? So there's a lot we're going to try to break down and get through over the next 3 hours. And then we're going to be with you again tomorrow night until 1 o'clock in the morning. And Dr. Knabb, what do you make of this? We were speaking yesterday. Any surprises from what we had last night to what you see today?
Well, I think it got its act together, tropically speaking, a little bit sooner than I thought it would. And so it has really taken advantage of the warm waters that it's moving over, the warmer than average waters for this time of year. It just does not feel like an early to mid-November storm. But, you know, it doesn't have all of the appearances of a peak of season hurricane, but there's enough there. And this is a very impactful track in terms of wind and water. And one thing that is making time of the essence, and you summarize some of the evacuation instructions that are up there. This is an important night and early tomorrow morning to get people to evacuate who have been told to go, and to not focus on the exact track, as whether it goes left side of cone, right side of cone, and the Euro model shows that there's a lot of possibilities throughout the cone. But we have, once again, a situation where we've got some very serious life-threatening conditions that could occur outside the cone. And here's a good way to look at it. Here is the forecast cone where the center's probably going to go. Look at all these storm surge warnings outside the cone, Chris.
And Dr. Knabb, say, again, the center could go anywhere from here to here, right? You still believe that's fair with this, given this current cone?
So. It might go slightly out of it, but most likely it's somewhere in the cone. Maybe on the edge, but yeah.
So if the center goes here or the center goes here, these areas are still going to get pretty much the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah,
regardless.
Yeah, generally yes, because this is such a large system that these areas up in here are almost certainly going to be on the north onshore flow side, not necessarily so, say, in Palm Beach County, where you could get the storm surge if it goes south of you, but these areas up in here are going to get it. And we've learned from past systems, including Ian this year, where people think, well, if I'm not in the cone, I'm not at risk for significant life-threatening storm surge, and you are. And the other comparison to Ian that's important here is we could have similar damaging, life-threatening storm surge and wave action that we got as Ian left the northeast coast of Florida. So this could be a very dangerous situation again.
So the people that have a chance of getting out of the worst of it, is this a fair just generalization to say you got to be south of center?
Yeah, to get the storm surge, yes.
Yeah, to not get the worst of it, yes. South to center, south to center. So if you're north of center, the surge is coming for you in one word. Not coming for you, but it's something that you need to be concerned about.
Yeah, it's basically baked in. And it's important to remember that a lot of these areas up in here, and I'm going to detail some of the storm surge forecasts in these communities, but a lot of these areas, you know, St. Johns County, Flagler County, and Volusia, these are all where evacuation instructions. So there are storm surge warnings and evacuation instructions outside the cone tonight. So if you are grappling with whether or not to evacuate as told to go, and you're thinking, well, I'm not in the cone, so I'm not worried. No, you got to go tonight. And the time is of the essence because by tomorrow morning, the winds of tropical storm force could be arriving. And this is a really large storm, so the winds could get there sooner than in other past storms and hurricanes because that wind field is so large ahead of the center. Now, the wind gusts are already 30, 35, 40 miles an hour at times. Do you want to wait till tomorrow morning to start getting on the roads? You know, the emergency managers who've called for evacuations that go into effect tomorrow morning are already saying, you know, the sooner you go, the better off you're going to be because the weather's a lot better tonight than it will be tomorrow morning. Chris, this is 650 miles across from the northwest quadrant to the southeast quadrant in terms of extent of tropical storm force winds.
And then the hurricane force winds are going to be smaller.
Much, yes, and especially with a system that might get right to the hurricane tropical storm threshold. You know, the area that gets sustained hurricane force winds isn't going to be all that large. But because of the horizontal size being so large, you're going to get 3 to 5 feet of saltwater flooding above normally dry ground from something that might be right at the tropical storm hurricane threshold. So don't discount what this can do. That horizontal size means a lot.
And Dr. Knapp, something I hear a lot when I go out and people that are in the path or near a hurricane or tropical storm, they'll say, I went through this storm or I've been through a tropical storm. This is, for a lot of people, going to be a tropical storm, but it's going to be one that might go the distance, for a boxing analogy. It's not going to be a quick tropical storm.
No.
The fact that it's going to go for so long, the effects, because of the water, will be cumulative, won't they? You're going to continue to see the water continuing to get more and more. So I can already hear people saying, I wouldn't expect this from a tropical storm.
Right, absolutely. And some people might not just get hours of tropical storm force winds, but days. You know, because of the path shaped like this. And larger storms make the rainfall totals add up. And when you add a lot of rainfall here in northern and central Florida and the storm surge, we're going to have a combination of impacts that could make the saltwater and freshwater flooding combined worse than either one would be on their own. And then, because of the large size of the storm, look at how many people in central and northern Florida, even southeastern Florida, have a greater than 50-50 shot of getting sustained winds of tropical storm force. We got to get ready tonight for power outages that could start tomorrow.
And let's get back here to evacuation orders. And evacuation orders, Dr. Knapp, is really because of surge, right?
Yes, but it's also including mobile homes and manufactured homes, not just in coastal areas. So, you know, in a strong tropical storm or a Cat 1 hurricane, mobile home, manufactured home, not a safe place to be either.
Okay, but you are going to get into that storm surge in pretty fine detail, right?
Yes, we'll go into those coastal communities north of the center where it's probably going to come ashore and look at what the storm surge could be and why and where the evacuation instructions are in place.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about tonight here in the coming days as well. As Dr. Knapp just said, these winds going to be a long duration event here. The wind's already blowing pretty strong here along Florida's east coast and a lot of Florida's east coast. You can see that red flag just whipping around right here and some very rough surf out there. Winds sustained, been topping 20 miles an hour, gusts stronger than 30 at times as well. So here's a look again. Dr. Knapp mentioning just how large the storm is, and you see the center right here. It doesn't, have that classic, worst of the worst hurricane kind of look. It's still a tropical storm, but the fact that it is so big and the direction and the persistent nature of these strong winds is going to be a huge factor. Another look at the hurricane warnings, hurricane conditions expected, anticipated, be prepared for that. Tropical storm conditions, be prepared from that here for most of the Florida coastline and well inland as well. Storm going to be still pretty strong as it moves up and across Florida. Another look at the the earliest arrival time. This is when you need to be prepared by in order to be safe. Another look at the most likely arrival time. Again, it could come around this time, so during the day, Wednesday into Thursday. So that's a 24-hour period. So your best bet, of course, is to do this right here. Look at this, and this is where if you need to evacuate or you need to get your preparations taken care of, that's when you need it done by. A lot of areas, it's tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And so again, look at the most likely arrival time. Here's the tropical storm right now that we're watching, Tropical Storm Nicole, that we are seeing here, Dr. Neb. And yeah, when you look at this, it looks like a mid-latitude system, right? It doesn't have that look to it. And when you think about that, and knowing we were last night talking about a subtropical system, what is the main point you really want to hammer home tonight?
That Nicole is large, and you know, the max sustained winds, the forward motion, those are numbers we talk about a lot, but this storm is hundreds of miles across, and big storms cause bigger problems than smaller storms do that have all the other same characteristics. So this is a big storm that can push the Atlantic Ocean toward the coastline. A life-threatening storm surge situation. Just because it's not going to be double-digit feet above normally dry ground doesn't mean it isn't life-threatening. You get above 3 feet, you get 3, 4, 5 feet of saltwater flooding into your community, it is dangerous. Now, just 6 weeks ago, Ian slammed Florida's Gulf Coast, moved across the state, caused damage, erosion on the east coast beaches of central and northern Florida as well, including in Daytona Beach shores. The damage to the beach's seawall still evident, and now with Nicole on the way, we could see even more coastal erosion from the surge. You know, some places the dunes did their job in northeastern Florida and Ian, but now they're not there like they were in advance of Nicole's arrival. So I want to take a look again at where the storm surge watches and warnings are in effect and where that cone is, because the center's probably going to go down here, but we are likely to get life-threatening storm surge north of there. Okay, and the saltwater flooding that we could get is 3 to 5 feet above normally dry ground. But what about some of the details? And we got to evacuate, as some officials have told folks to do. You know, tonight or tomorrow, they've set tomorrow to get people out, but maybe you want to go tonight.